It was Wednesday, ordinary Wednesday in my practice, patient number 7 that day. A man, 39 years old, programmer. When he entered the office, I immediately noticed his gait, careful, uncertain, as if each step caused discomfort. He sat across from me, and I saw in his eyes something I'd seen thousands of times. A mixture of hope and despair, hope that I'd help, and despair from the thought that perhaps it was already too late. His name was Alex. He came with complaints of severe pain in both knees that started 3 years ago and gradually got worse. He brought a stack of documents, MRI scans, other doctors' reports, test results. I started studying his case, but then did what I always do, put the papers aside and asked him to tell his story. Not medical history, but his life. Alex told me he'd been working as a programmer for 15 years, sits at a computer 10 to 12 hours a day, used to play sports, played basketball, ran, but 5 years ago started a new project, a startup that demanded all his time. Sports took a back seat, then third place, then disappeared completely. Over these 5 years, he gained 20 kilograms, slept 5 hours, ate delivery, pizzas, burgers, whatever. 3 years ago, knees started hurting. At first, slightly. After long sitting, he thought they just went numb, would move around and pass, but didn't pass. Pain got stronger. He started taking painkillers every day, sometimes 2 or 3 pills. This allowed him to work, but pain didn't go away, just got masked. 6 months ago, there was a breaking point. Not literal, but psychological. Alex tried playing basketball with friends, first time in years. After 10 minutes, he felt such sharp pain in right knee, he couldn't continue. He sat on bench and realized for the first time, something's seriously wrong. At 39, he couldn't play basketball for 10 minutes. He started going to doctors. First doctor looked at MRI and said, "You're developing arthritis. It's age, excess weight, sedentary lifestyle. Take chondroprotectors and continue painkillers." Second, doctors suggested hyaluronic acid injections. Third, started talking about surgery, arthroscopy for cleaning the joint. Alex sat before me saying all this in an even voice, but I saw his hands slightly trembling. And then he said a phrase that stopped me. "Doctor, I started Googling, read forums, watch videos. And last night I stumbled upon your video about how wrong movements destroy knees. I sat and watched as you explained about biomechanics, about muscles, about what we do wrong every day. And with each minute, I understood, this is me. This is all about me." He fell silent, and I saw his eyes fill with tears. I recognized myself in every example, how I sit, hunched, legs crossed, or one leg tucked under, how I stand up, jerking, all load on knees, how I walk, heavily, jamming heels into floor, how I used to squat in gym, knees forward, heels in air, everything wrong, every movement, every day for years. And I did this not knowing, just lived like everyone lives, thinking it's normal. He ran his hand over his face. And then you showed in the video that all this could have been prevented, that if I'd known 15 years ago what I learned yesterday, my knees would be healthy now, that I myself, with my own hands, or rather my movements, destroyed my knees. Not genetics, not fate, not just age. Me. And I cried. Silence hung in the office. I saw before me a person experiencing what psychologists call crisis of awareness. The moment when you understand that many of your problems were created by your own hands, your ignorance, your habits. It's painful realization, but it's also liberating realization. Because if you created the problem yourself, it means you have power to solve it. I leaned forward and told him, "Alex, what you're feeling is normal. I encounter this constantly. People come to me and say the same words. If only I'd known earlier. But here's what's important to understand. Yes, you did wrong things. Yes, this led to problems, but you didn't do it intentionally. You didn't know. Nobody taught you proper biomechanics. There were no classes in school on how to sit correctly so you don't destroy your knees in 20 years. You weren't warned that every crossed leg is microtrauma accumulating over years. I opened his MRI on screen. Look, yes, there are changes. Yes, cartilage is thinned. Yes, there's inflammation. But you know what? This isn't a sentence. You're 39. You have half your life ahead. And if you change what you do to your knees every day, if you learn to move correctly, if you strengthen muscles that should protect joints, you can not only stop destruction, but significantly improve the situation. Alex looked at me doubtfully. But can this be reversed? Does cartilage regenerate? I answered honestly. Cartilage has limited regeneration capacity. No, we can't return a 30-year-old's knees, but we can make it so your knees at 50 are better than now at 39. How? By removing all factors, destroying them, and adding all factors, protecting them. We spent 2 hours with him that day. I showed him how he sits and how he should sit, showed how he stands up and how to stand up correctly. We practiced proper gait. He was shocked how unnatural it felt to walk correctly. I showed him quadriceps activation exercises he should do daily, explained why every extra kilogram is additional load on joints, talked about nutrition, inflammation, sleep. When he left, he shook my hand and said, "Thank you. First time in all these months, I feel not just hope, but understanding. I know what to do. I know what I was doing wrong, and now I can change it." But the real moment happened 3 months later. Alex came for follow-up. He'd lost 12 kilograms. His gait changed, became light, confident. He sat across from me and said, "Doctor, I need to tell you something. Remember I told you I cried when I realized what I was doing to my knees? Well, I cried again. 2 weeks ago. I prepared to hear it got worse, but he smiled. I cried from joy. I played basketball with friends, hour and a half, and my knees held up. They were tired, yes, but there was no pain. That sharp, piercing pain that was before, and when I came home, took a shower, and sat on couch, I cried because I understood I'm back. My knees are back. Or rather, I brought them back. He looked me in the eyes. You know what's most amazing? It wasn't that hard. Exercises take 15 minutes a day. Proper posture and movements became habit in a couple weeks. Yes, losing weight wasn't easy, but when you know why, it motivates. And I understand now, the problem wasn't difficulty. The problem was ignorance. I simply didn't know what to do. This story of Alex is the story of thousands of my patients. People destroy their knees without knowing, every day, with millions of small wrong movements accumulating into catastrophe. And when they finally learn what and how they were doing wrong, many cry from realization of lost time, from understanding the problem could have been prevented. But you know what I tell every such patient? Don't regret the past. You can't change it, but you can change the future. Every day, starting today, you can make the right choice. Sit correctly, walk correctly, strengthen muscles, care for your body. After that case with Alex, I started doing more educational content, videos, articles, social media posts, not about complex medical terms, but simple things about how to sit at computer correctly so you don't cry from knee pain in 20 years, about how to climb stairs correctly, about what exercises to do to protect joints. Because I don't want people crying from realization they unconsciously destroyed their bodies. I want them to know in advance, to do it right from the start, or at least learn about it before it's too late for easy solutions. If you're reading this now and recognize yourself in Alex's story, don't cry, act. You have time, you have opportunity. Your knees can still recover if you give them right conditions. Change what you do to them every day. Learn to move correctly. Strengthen muscles that protect them. And someday, maybe in 3 months, maybe in a year, you'll cry too. But not from grief, but from joy, from realization you returned freedom of movement, that you saved your knees, that you took control of your body and your life. Alex is still my patient, comes every 6 months for a preventive checkup, each time with new stories about what he can do now. Mountain hiking, bike rides with kids, dancing with his wife, things that 3 years ago seemed impossible. Last time he was with me, he said, "You know, doctor, I sometimes think, what if I hadn't seen that video of yours? What if I'd continued on the path I was on? Where would I be now? I answered, perhaps on operating table, or in constant pain dependent on painkillers. But you're not there. You're here. And that's all that matters. He nodded. You're right. I can't change the past. But I'm grateful I learned in time that I had a chance to fix everything. And I took it. That's what I want you to understand from this story. Many of us unconsciously do things that destroy our knees. But this doesn't mean we're doomed. It means we need knowledge, understanding, and action. Learn what you're doing wrong, understand how to fix it, and start acting today. Don't wait for the moment when you cry from realization of what you could have prevented. Act now, your knees will thank you, and someday you'll cry too, but from joy, not grief.